Weird News Weekly with Ben and Reid.
Now, Reid, of course, I'm sure many of us would have dropped food on the ground at some point throughout our lives. A lot of people would be klutzes and they would drop food on the ground quite a lot. And they would go by this unwritten rule, the 5-second rule. And alarmingly, some people even have the 10-second rule, which is not a good thing. So people are dropping their food on the ground going, oh no, I've dropped my food. Then they pick it up 5 to 10 seconds later and they're just like, hey, 10-second rule, 5-second rule, it's all totally fine. This is still edible. Well, apparently it's not, Reid. It's not still edible. It's not safe to eat at all as soon as it's hit the ground. A report published by the American Society for Microbiology's journal Applied and Environmental Biology, that was a mouthful, scientists have found that in most cases, food that has touched the floor is not safe to eat. Now, they tested this on, of all things, watermelon, bread, buttered bread, and gummy bears, or as I like to call them, gummy bears. So they tested all these foods by dropping them on the ground to see how long it would take for bacteria to be transferred onto the food. And of course, the longer you leave the food on the ground, the more bacteria actually gets transferred onto the item of food that's actually sitting there on the floor. Now, everyone who's saying, yeah, the 5-second rule is totally fine, the 10-second rule is totally fine, they're totally wrong. Because apparently they've found that in less than a second, more bacteria will transfer to your food that makes it completely unsafe to actually consume after that.
Oh, jeez.
So it kind of makes you wonder, like, what are some rules that you've gone by as far as food that you found on the floor or just, dropped on the floor?
Anything that is like for example, your toast, anything that's got butter on it, that's easily pickable. So let's say you've got a cat or a dog at home and all the furs everywhere. You're not picking up that bread and eating it. You're putting it in a rubbish bin and you're making yourself some more toast again. So anything like that, no. What about you? You've got some things of your own?
Well, I'm kind of the same. Like if you drop a piece of bread that has like a buttered side or a butter and Vegemite side, if you're having toast or something like that, obviously if you have a pet, it's going to pick up hairs immediately. You don't want to be eating those hairs and getting a fur ball. As well as that, you're also, picking up the bacteria that might be on the ground in your house. And as much as we all like to think that the ground in our house is completely clean, as much as we vacuum it and mop it and all that kind of stuff, it's not. Because, we're walking around on it constantly. But it kind of makes you wonder, though, like, what is the absolute barrier for as far as you would go when you find food somewhere? Because some people would find, like, I don't know, a stray M&M down the back of the couch or something like that, and they would still eat it. Like, if they didn't have M&Ms for at least like a month or something like that, they'd pull the couch cushions forward to vacuum them out a little bit. They'd find an old M&M there. It still looks good. It's still in its crispy little sugary shell. So that's kind of protected it there for a little while. But some people would still eat that. And I reckon that's disgusting. Do you reckon that's disgusting as well?
Well, I think M&Ms have a pretty good shelf life. I think they have a shelf life of about a year.
Yeah.
So if it falls between the back of the couch or under the couch on the floor, I don't think there's that much of an issue, depending on the amount of people who live inside that house. But that could be something they might have factored into the survey.
But then think about it this way, right? You've got something that's like an M&M, for example, that's been lost down the back of the couch cushions on the couch. It's been sitting there for a month and a half, whatever. Think about all the people that sit on that couch and then fart.
Just myself farting, that would be enough to not make that at all.
And then all these farts are just sitting there marinating into this M&M over that month and a half, and then you've pulled the couch cushion forward and gone, oh, M&M, well, nice, that tastes good. Yep, M&M with a side of farts.
Yeah, I think I have to move house.
But apparently they tested this on quite a few different foods to get a gist of what the bacteria transfer period was. Some foods did have a quicker time than others, like certain lollies and things like that. If you drop them on the ground, they have, maybe a couple more seconds of a grace period where you can pick them up and they're still okay. But things that are, kind of juicy and buttery and whatever, and I don't know, oily and salty salty, stuff like that. If you've got like a box of chips or something like that, you don't want to be dropping them on the ground and then go, okay, I can pick up these hot chips and eat them fine, because that's, on the disgusting border.
Well, I was doing a bit of cleaning myself yesterday, and I've got a chair that has this sort of backing to it, and it's probably the first time in months I've cleaned it, and there was all kinds of food there. There were chips, there were M&Ms, there was lots of chocolate, and I was looking at it thinking, I don't know how long that's been there for, but it didn't look like it had been there for a week. We're talking probably months' worth of food. No, yuck.
Now, if you could take a guess as to the origins of the 5-second rule, where would you think that this whole thing would have come from?
Probably some adults at the office, maybe having a bit of lunch. It's probably knocked it over and thought, no, give it a bit of time to get all the hairs off it. That'll be fine.
Yeah.
Am I close?
No.
No?
Not even slightly. Of all people, the 5-second rule originates from Genghis Khan.
I wouldn't have predicted that.
Who declared that food could be safe to eat after even 5 hours on the ground.
5 hours? How did you come up with that logic?
So we've gone from his 5 hours down to 5 seconds, and neither of them were anywhere close to being safe to consume after you drop food on the ground.
I mean, 5 seconds is a pretty long time. I've always thought the 10-second rule, how do you come up with that? That's a long time.
Yeah.
10 seconds. I mean, we're not talking done. 10 seconds, that's a long time on the ground. Why are you leaving your food on the ground for that long a time for? Get it off there.
Well, there was one of those viral fail videos that was going around on social media recently. There was a guy who just purchased this big, massive, meaty hot dog, and he was sitting down at a baseball game, and as he sat down, his big belly kind of pushed the hot dog out of his hand, and he dropped it on the ground, and then he was just like, oh, no, and went down and picked it up, and then just put it back in the tray, and he was just like, yeah, it's fine. And it was like, no, dude, that's at a baseball game. I would even hate to think what has been on that ground after all those games that have been played there.
He's probably been looking forward to that hot dog all day. And that's part of the tradition. You see a baseball game, you have a hot dog, and to lose a hot dog on the ground, that just wouldn't even factor into his day. So.
Well, because when you think about it, like if we were going to a footy game at the MCG, for example, you finish off the footy game and there's just rubbish everywhere after all the patrons leave the ground. Now, they have a cleanup crew that goes around and picks up all that rubbish and makes the seating area look all pristine and nice again. But even though they've cleaned up all your rubbish, they haven't scrubbed any of the seats, they haven't scrubbed any of the floor. All that crap has just been building up for years and years and years and years and years with all the patrons that have been coming through with every game that's been played there. And this guy's just gone, hey, my hot dog's on the ground, I can pick that up and still eat it. That is gross.
That's fascinating. Do you have some sort of inside knowledge with how the cleanup crews do their job? I was unaware of that. I thought they would have done some sort of scrubbing on the chair.
I think if they come across a chair that's been coated in tomato sauce or to a worse extent vomit, for example, they'll scrub those ones off. But if everything looks relatively clean, they'll just be picking up the rubbish around all the places and just chucking it in the bin and then going on their way.
So they just use my motto then. Near enough is good enough.
Yeah. As long as it looks clean, it is clean. It doesn't matter about all the... I would hate to go into somewhere like the MCG when it's pitch black dark at night, no lights on whatsoever, and just take a black light in there and run it across all the chairs. And just see what kind of random stuff you find.
Oh, don't go there, friend.
Well, because people don't think of stuff like that. Like when you go to a hotel, for example, everyone's just like, oh, got to get your black light out and go over the hotel with a fine tooth comb to see all the weird crap that's around your room. But no one thinks about that kind of stuff when they go to a public place like a sporting venue or a theatre or something like that. It's really weird.
It's like when you go to a friend's house, you make as much mess as you want. You do the exact same when you go to a sporting venue. Yeah. You make as much mess as you want. You're dropping all your food everywhere. So if we were to put a black light under that situation, I don't think we'd. That's not good.
And on a closing note for this one, as far as the MCG theory is concerned, just think about all the cricket that's been played at the MCG over the years, and all the Mexican waves that have been started, and all the crap that goes flying up into the air and then comes back down and lands on the ground after the Mexican wave has gone around.
Yeah,
and that thing will just do laps. That'll do lap after lap after lap, and those people will be throwing stuff up in the air every single time.
Yep, they'll be throwing all manner of food and all kind of... Maybe their phones as well. Maybe hitting people in the eye with a phone. Ugh.
But then at a venue like this, that guy's still going, hey, my hot dog's still okay. No worries. Chomp, chomp, chomp. But if you'd like to get more info about this story, the details are waiting for you right now at the Twitter and Tumblr accounts, at Weird News Weekly on Twitter, weirdnewsweekly.tumblr.com as well. Leave us a voicemail right there as well and get involved with the show.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to rate and review the show on iTunes and follow on Twitter and Tumblr for more details on the covered stories. Just search Weird News Weekly. You can also be part of the show and give us your opinions on a story by sending a voicemail via the SpeakPipe app, or just click the voicemail link on the Tumblr page. Spoken by Sarah D and sped up like this because we like the way it sounds on the government ads.
Just different food, watermelon bread, buttered bread, and gummy bears on different floors.
I like how you pronounce gummy bears then, gummy bears.
Gummy bears.
Like a little child.